श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining in for this session of Srimad Bhagavatam. We on currently 4th canto, chapter number 22nd, verse number 37 to 39, we will be covering today. But prior to that, we have seen how Prithu Maharaj has welcomed the 4 Kumaras and how he has been so humble, how he has made inquiries which are pertinent and very, very significant for each one of us. Every living entity should be making such inquiries to progress on the path of devotion. So yesterday the Mataji very wonderfully brought out how the 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and how we have to prioritize the Moksha. And the 5th Purushartha is Prema. So basically for the Vaishnavas, they always aspire to attain, they perform the devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord, to attain loving loving devotional service they perform to attain the love of the Supreme Lord. But we also saw yesterday that how the endeavor is mostly for the economic development and sense gratification, the kama and this artha. We will go further today. We will start with the verse number 37, which I will recite once. Then one of you could kindly unmute and recite. We reading verse number 37 today. Firstly, I would seek blessings from each one of you so that on this esoteric topic, something very wonderful and good teachings can be brought out for both myself and for yourself. And I humbly bow down and seek your blessings. Tattvam narendra jagatamatha tastu shamcha dehendriyashu dishannatmabhir avritanam यक्षेत्रवित्तपतया हृदि विस्वगाविः प्रत्यक्षकास्ति भगवांस्तं अवेहि सोऽस्मि. Kindly could any one of you recite?
May I, Mataji?
Yeah, please.
Tattvam narendra jagatama tastusham cha dehendriya sugishanatma bhiravrutanam yakshetra vittapataya radivivagavihi pratyakchakasti bhagavan stama avehi tosmi.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody could recite read the translation for us, please? Any one of you, please?
Yes, Mataji, I'll read.
Yeah,
Haribol Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pranams. Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sanat Kumara advised the king, therefore, my dear King Prithu, try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is living within everyone's heart, along with the individual soul, in each and every body, either moving or not moving. The individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body and the subtle body made of the life, air, and intelligence.
Mataji, continue the purport as well.
Yeah. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, it is specifically advised that instead of wasting time in the human form of life, endeavoring for economic development and sense gratification, One should try to cultivate spiritual values by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is existing with the individual soul within everyone's heart. The individual soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature are both sitting within this body, which is covered by gross and subtle elements. To understand this is to attain actual spiritual culture. There are two ways of advancing in spiritual culture: by the method of the impersonalist philosophers and by devotional service. The impersonalist comes to the conclusion that he and the Supreme Spirit are one, whereas devotees or personalists realize the absolute truth by understanding that because the absolute truth is the supreme predominator and we living entities are predominated, our duty is to serve him. The Vedic injunctions say, Tattvam Asi, you are the same, and Soham, I am the same. The impersonalist conception of these mantras is that the Supreme Lord or the absolute truth and the living entity are one. But from the devotee's point of view, these mantras assert that both the Supreme Lord and ourselves are of the same quality. Tat Tvam Asi, I am Atma Brahma. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity are spirit. Understanding this is self-realization. The human form of life is meant for understanding the Supreme Lord and oneself by spiritual cultivation of knowledge. One should not waste valuable life simply engaged in economic development and sense gratification. In this verse, the word Kshetravit is also important. This word is explained in Bhagavad Gita 13.2. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidiyate. This body is called Kshetra, the field of activities, and the proprietors of the body, the individual soul and the super soul sitting within the body are both called Kshetravit. But there is a difference between the two kinds of Kshetravit. One Kshetravit or knower of the body, namely the Paramatma or the super soul, is directing the individual soul. When we rightly take the direction of the super soul, our life becomes successful. He is directing from within and from without. From within, he is directing as Chaitya Guru or the spiritual master sitting within the heart. Indirectly, he is also helping the living entity by manifesting himself as a spiritual master outside. In both ways, the Lord is giving directions to the living entity so that he may finish up his material activities and come back home, back to Godhead. The presence of the Supreme Soul and the individual soul within the body can be perceived by anyone by the fact that as long as the individual soul and the super soul are both living within the body is always shining and fresh. But as soon as the super soul and the individual soul give a possession of the gross body, it immediately decomposes. One who is spiritually advanced and thus understand the real difference between a dead body and a living body. In conclusion, one should not waste his time by so-called economic development and sense gratification, but should cultivate spiritual knowledge to understand the super soul and the individual soul and their relationship. In this way, by advancement of knowledge, one can achieve liberation and the ultimate goal of life. It is said that if one takes to the path of liberation, even rejecting the so-called duties in the material world, he is not a loser at all. But a person who does not take to the path of liberation yet carefully executes economic development and sense gratification loses everything. Narada's statement before Vyasdeva is appropriate in this connection. Vaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harir bhajan apakota patetato vyadi tatra kvava badram abhyut amushyakim kovata apto bhajatam swadharmatah. Bhagavatam 1.5.17. If a person out of sentiment or for some other reason takes to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and in due course of time does not succeed in coming to the ultimate goal of life or falls down due to the lack of experience, there is no loss. But for a person who does not take to devotional service, yet executes his material duties very nicely, there is no gain. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so very much, Mataji. The purports are long for all the three verses, so we'll go a little fast.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And little bit technical, little bit philosophical, these three verses, but we'll try to make it simple and see how we can understand in a better way, following the footsteps of our spiritual masters and whatever they have shared. So here we understand that what is emphasized more is in this purport and in this verse is the goal of life, which is self-realization, right? The very first line it says, instead of wasting human form of life, endeavoring for economic development and sense gratification. So this sense gratification, that is artha and kama, these two, instead of focusing on that, our goal of life is self-realization. What does self-realization mean? Anybody can, because this is such a common terminology, do we understand what it means, self-realization? Because that's the goal of our life. But what does that mean? Basically, self-realization means when we... Yes, please. Yes.
Just trying, Mataji.
Yeah,
Like
please.
understanding God, I mean, um,
Yeah,
we are part and
Correct.
parcel of the Lord, right? Yeah. So when we realize that,
correct, Mataji, you're on the right track. So we are trying to, through self-realization means we understand what is my real identity, right?
yeah, that's what I was
Also
about.
trying to understand what is my constitutional position in relation to the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
So Srila Prabhupada says self-realization and God realization just happens simultaneously, So this we should understand. Basically, people normally say, "Oh, he's a self-realized person." So what self-realized person means? He's not on a bodily platform. He's acting on the soul platform. He's always Krishna conscious. So that is the self-realized soul. So now here the emphasis by Sanat Kumar is that we should be focused and emphasizing more on this point of self-realization in human form of life. Otherwise, it is just a waste. Um, there's a story given by Srila Prabhupada. There's this boatman in a village, and a scholar, he's hired him and he has to go on the other side of the river. But now this scholar, Adat se majboor, he starts asking him, "Oh, dear boatman, do you understand astronomy? Do you know how the stars work?" This simple guy who's rowing the boat, he's telling, "No, sir, I am a simple poor man. I just row this boat. I don't know about all that." So this proud scholar says, "Oh, your 25% of the life is gone waste." After some time, again he is asking him another question. "Do you know anything about geology? Do you know anything about how earth and water work?" And this simple, humble, poor man says, "No, sir, I am very sorry. I'm just not aware of all that." So this scholar says, "Oh, my dear, your 50% of your life has gone waste." Suddenly, as they move forward, there's a huge storm in the ocean and the boat is rocking. That's when this boatman is asking the scholar, "Sir, do you know to swim?" He says, "No, no, no, I really don't know to swim. Oh my God, I may die." So he's saying, "Now your 100% life has gone waste." So similarly, from this story, we understand is the focus is not on learning and being scholarly, being knowing all these things. Primarily in human form of life, our focus should be how can I cross over this material ocean of nescience? How can I get over Maya? How can I get over this struggle? But I am literally suffering in this material world. How can I get over this ocean? So this is how we understand why Sanat Kumar is explaining that our goal is self-realization. Now, further, it is told about uh, in the body, supreme soul and the individual soul both reside, right? Super soul is Paramatma, which we have already studied some verses back. I had only taken up in that class. As Paramatma, Lord is seated inside. And I'm sure I remember Sindhu Mataji had only quoted verses from Bhagavad Gita where it is mentioned uh, that Lord is seated in the heart. Mataji, do you recall?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So we had
Sarvasya
understood.
Chaham
Yes, Mataji. And also Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshu
Sarvabhutani
Arjuna
Hridayeshu.
Tishtat. Yeah. Brahmayana Sarva Bhutani Yantra Arudani Maya. So this body is like a yantra, a vehicle in which these Ishvara, that is the Supreme Lord, Super Soul, he is seated. But along with that, there is individual soul. This part and parcel of the Lord. It is also seated. Now these two are explained here like two birds on the tree. Why here it is explained? I think that is explained in the next verse. Here it is explained there are two schools of thought. One school of thought is impersonalist. One is personalist. That is the Vaishnavas, the devotees. Now the impersonalist philosophers are those who say super soul and this individual soul, they are both one. So when they claim like that, it means they are saying if super soul and this soul are one, that means they say that we are also God, you know. in that sense. But what is the Vaishnava understanding? Vaishnava understanding is we both are this super soul and this soul are both residing in the heart. Soul is part and parcel of the super soul, and super soul is the supreme enjoyer, and this individual soul is meant for the pleasure and giving enjoyment to the super soul. Super soul is the master, soul is the servant. This is the Vaishnava philosophy and the understanding. These two birds, it's compared to the two birds in Upanishads. I think Kena Upanishad it is. These two birds on the tree of this body. This body is compared to the tree on which these two birds are sitting. They are friendly birds. But one bird is so deeply engrossed in doing what? Eating the fruits. Is so engrossed, absorbed, absolutely absorbed in eating the fruits. What are now these fruits are sometimes bitter, sometimes very sour, sometimes raw, and sometimes sweet also. So as a result of all these experiences, he is feeling frustrated, lamentation is happening, hankering is there. And while this super soul, this bird, is just waiting and watching, when will he turn to me? Turn towards me indicates when he will be out of this material entanglement and when he will cast his glance upon me, when he will take shelter of me, that is Supreme Lord, when he will surrender to me. So that is the whole thing which is explained here. And if we see, this is the two thoughts which I explained briefly. Of course, the next verse I will go more deep. So the impersonalists feel like that, there are no two birds like that. The super soul and that soul both are one. That is their philosophy and their understanding. So going further, and they say this Tattvam Asi, you are the same. So when they say this, means they say we are same, means super soul and the soul are same. So I am the same. Whereas the Vaishnava understanding is, I am the same means I am spirit. The soul is not material. Soul is a spirit soul, right? So I am the same. You are the same. It means that it is saying that I am spirit soul. Ideally, and I am the part and parcel of the Lord. Same qualitatively. Remember that I am the same means I am qualitatively same to the super soul. So what are the qualities? How is the soul qualitatively one? Because Satchidananda, even the soul is Satchidananda by nature, spiritually. So that way it is qualitatively one, but we all always know that quantitatively the soul is different from the super soul. Prabhupada has given so many examples, just like an ocean. Supreme super soul is like that ocean, and that jiva, that soul, independent soul, is like that drop of the ocean. So that one drop of ocean also has the similar qualities as the qualities of the ocean, but quantitatively it is so anu, while the super soul is vibhu, it is so huge. So this is what is meant here. This is the difference in both the philosophies, which is being pointed out here by Sanat Kumar. Going further, the verse talks about Kshetra and Kshetravit. How many of us have understood chapter 13th of Bhagavad Gita or have a little bit idea about what Kshetra means? Anybody? You all are students of Bhagavad Gita. You all are all wonderful devotees. Okay. So Kshetra here refers to our bodies, the field of activity. The Kshetra is this body which is being given. It's like a field, खेती. अब खेती में क्या उगता है? What do we get from the field? We harvest crops, right? So a living entities harvest crops of happiness and sorrows. Whatever he sows, accordingly, depending upon his karma, depending upon the gunas, depending upon the time factor, all that contributes to the crops, which may be happiness or which may be sorrow. So this is all constantly he's harvesting those crops. Now Kshetravit is one who knows this body, the kshetra, that is the field. Who knows the field, kshetravit, that is again super soul and the this soul, individual soul. As individual soul, I know this is my body, this is my finger, this is my head, okay? But I have limited understanding. In Srimad Bhagavatam, very first verse tells us that the absolute truth is abhignya, which means fully cognizant, means fully aware. Who is fully aware of the body? The super soul, the Paramatma. How? I just know this is my body, this is my belly, these are my eyes. I may just point like that, but I have very limited understanding. But the super soul can tell me how many hairs are there on my body, how many nerves are there in this body. Very how many millions and trillions of cells are there in the body? How many bacteria are there in the body? I mean, every detailed knowledge and information is there. That is called abhignya. Complete knowledge. Prabhupada says expert in the knowledge. So that is the quality of super soul, Paramatma. And this Paramatma, again here it is mentioned, is directing us. Directing us, the individual soul. See, always the Paramatma is Chaitya Guru, and externally he becomes our spiritual master. He's directing us so that we can take to the path of spiritual life. So that, you know, best part is more than us, the Lord is very much eager to have us back in his spiritual abode. We are such bewildered and entangled living entities, but Lord is helping us internally as well as externally by guiding us how we should progress, how we should follow and understand, come out of this bewilderment. We are thinking we are this body, we are in so much of illusion. So Lord, the super soul is mercifully guiding us. And we also understand previously also from the verses that how super soul is overseeing everything. He is the sanctioner as well as he oversees everything. I remember I had explained how through stories also, various stories from Bhagavatam, that how even if I do some activity in a closed room, yet who is the witness? There are many witnesses, but one of it is super soul as well. Paramatma in the heart, he is witnessing my every activity. Just imagine, even before I begin this Zoom session, sometimes there is this message down there that recording has begun. Okay. So they caution me, recording has begun means I have to be very careful. I can't eat while I'm speaking. I can't do wrong gestures. I have to be very, it makes me remember that no, I am being shot. It's catching up, the screen is catching it up, everything. Similarly, imagine Lord is seated in the heart and this camera is 24/7 on. And this camera can capture all our thoughts, all our emotions, all our feelings, unspoken words. How much careful we need to be, how much cautious we need to be always. Firstly, about the presence of the super soul, who's overseeing, who's directing. Nothing goes unnoticed, right? So this is very nice. I mean, when I was reading this, this one thought came in my mind that whenever we are, even if somebody is taking a photo, if it is a candid picture, we don't like it. Hey, please don't post it. I want to pose nicely. There should be proper smile and all on my face. Then only the photo should be clicked. We are so particular. So similarly, we have to be particular about our activities, our speech, our words, our thoughts, actions, everything, because Paramatma is the witness to everything. So we were one time in one of my classes, our teacher had explained us this concept through a beautiful story, and it really touched me so much that there was this one sculptor, and he had made a beautiful this idol of a Supreme Lord. And similar idol he was making, and he was on the finishing touches. So a man comes, he says, "Why did you make two similar idols of the god?" So the sculptor firstly didn't reply, saying, "But I'm asking you, what's the need of two idols in the same one temple?" He said, "No, the first idol is little bit defective." So this man says, "No, but I can't see any defect in it." Where is it going to be put? He's saying there up on the wall in the temple, a little bit high up. He's saying, yeah, but where is the defect? He's saying just at the nose there is a slight hair-like crack, around the nose area. Basically, this man said it is not even visible to my eyes. On top of that, you said this idol will be hung up there on the temple on a great height. So how is it anybody is ever going to notice it? So the sculptor replied, world may notice or not notice, but this is a service to the Lord, and Lord is witnessing and he knows it. So I don't want to mess it. And Lord knows it. That's enough for me. So I'm sculpted another idol, a perfect one. So this is so, wonderful to understand. Always be conscious that we have the Supreme Lord's presence in our heart, and we are being watched, observed, guided. Okay. Then we were studying about these this impersonalists and the personalists. Okay. So in that they say that I am part of Brahman. Impersonalists, that is the Mayavadis. Prabhupada always calls them Mayavadi. They say, I am the part of Brahman. Currently, the Brahman fragmented. I'm in the illusion, but when that illusion is finished, I will be back merging into that Brahman. That is their concept and thought process and philosophy. But we will see in the next verse how Sanat Kumar is giving more clarity and how through the purport, Srila Prabhupada is refuting that philosophy. The final portion of this verse is talking about it is talking about even if a person who has apakvo, bhajan apakvo, a person who has done his duties very, very wonderfully, he's even been academically a scholar, just as I explained in that boatman story, but he has not taken the path of liberation. So it's a complete loss for him, because today he may be very rich, today he may be very scholarly, brilliant, maybe a very wonderful professional, but Prabhupada says the next life could be a life of a dog or a hog. On the other side, vice versa, if a person who has not been executing his material duties properly, but yet he's taken to the path of liberation, he's walking this spiritual path, for him there is no loss. Which verse in the Bhagavad Gita can you all recall which explains this? It's chapter 2. It is chapter 2, verse number 40. Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayurna Vidyate. Yes.
Alpamabhyasya dharmasya jayate mahto va.
Very good. Nice. So even if smallest of small endeavor on this path, there is no loss or no diminution. So whatever we have done, spiritual practices we have done in this birth, at least next birth, we are guaranteed of a human life. We can progress further. If I have done 20% bhakti currently, so alpam api yasya dharmasya, 20% only I did. Next birth, I continue from 21%. So for me, absolutely there's no loss. Similar was question of Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. He is asking to Krishna, he's asking, Lord, if I am not able to, sixth chapter, if I'm not wrong, a yogi who is not been able to complete his devotional service, he's not able to achieve his goal. So what happens of him? Krishna is saying, still he is not at loss. Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Abhijayate. Even if he fell down, but again in the next birth he is given an opportunity to complete whatever is left behind. If he's completed his 90% devotion, the rest of the 10%, Krishna ensures by giving him birth in a very good exalted Brahmana or Vaishnava family where he can quickly revive his and finish his bhakti and go back to the spiritual abode. And if a lot of it is left, then he takes birth as a human again in a rich family. So all facilities are provided. Krishna ensures that he is continuing with his bhakti. So isn't it nice? Where there's no loss absolutely. So it's such a beautiful thing, such a beautiful this thing, Krishna is giving us assurances. So we'll go to the next verse, that is the verse number 38. I'll just read it and one of you could repeat it. Yasmin idam sadasat atmataya vibhati maya viveka viduti srajivahi buddhihi tam nitya mukta parishuddha vishuddha tattvam pratyuddha karma kalila prakritim prapadye. Kindly repeat, please. Hi Krishna. Any one of you?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah,
Pranams
please.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Danvat pranam. Please repeat.
Namaste. Yasmin idam sada sadatmataya vibhati maya viveka viduti sraji vahi buddhihi tam nitya mukta parishuddha vishuddha tattvam pratyuda karma kalila prakritam prapadye.
Prabhuji, read the translation as well, Prabhu.
Translation by Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself as one with the cause and effect within this body, but one who has transcended the illusory energy by deliberate consideration, which clears the misconception of a snake for a rope, can understand that the Paramatma is eternally transcendental to the material creation and situated in pure internal energy. Thus, the Lord is transcendental to all material contamination. Unto him only must one surrender. Hare Krishna
Thank you,
Mataji.
Prabhu. Somebody could kindly read the
Hare
purport.
Krishna Mataji, may I read the purport?
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. This verse is specifically stated to defy the Mayavada conclusion of oneness without differentiation between the individual soul and the super soul. The Mayavada conclusion is that the living entity and the super soul are one. There is no difference. The Mayavadis proclaim that there is no separate existence outside the impersonal Brahman, and that the feeling of separation is Maya or an illusion by which one considers a rope to be a snake. The rope and the snake argument is generally offered by Mayavadi philosophers. Therefore, these words which represent Vivartavada are specifically mentioned herein. Actually, Paramatma, the super soul, is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he is eternally liberated. In other words, the supreme personality of Godhead is living within this body along with the individual soul. And this is confirmed in the Vedas. They are likened to two friends sitting on the same tree. Yet Paramatma is above the illusory energy. The illusory energy is called Bahiranga Shakti or external Shakti, and living entity is called Tatastha Shakti or marginal potency. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the material energy represented as earth, water, air, fire, sky, etc., and the spiritual energy, the living entity, and are both energies of Supreme Lord. Even though the energies are energetic and the energetic are identical, the living entity, the individual soul, being prone to be influenced by external energy, consider
the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be one with himself. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
There is one last paragraph, Mataji. The word prapadye.
The word prapadyate is also significant in this verse, for it refers to the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamegam Sharanam Vraja. In other place, the Lord says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. This Prapadyate or Sharanam Vraja refers to individual surrender to the super soul. The individual soul was surrendered. When surrendered, can understand that Supreme Personality of Godhead, although situated within the heart of individual soul, is superior to the individual soul. The Lord is always transcendental to the material manifestation, even though it appears that Lord and the material manifestation are one and the same. According to Vaishnava philosophy, he is one and different simultaneously. The material energy is a manifestation of his external potency, and since the potency is identical with the potent, it appears that Lord and the individual soul are one. But actually, the individual soul is under the influence of material energy, and the Lord is always transcendental to it. Unless the Lord is superior to individual soul, there is no question of prapadyate or surrender unto him. This word prapadyate refers to the process of devotional service. Simply by non-devotional speculation on the rope and the snake, one cannot approach the absolute truth. Therefore, devotional service is stressed as more important than liberation or mental speculation to understand the absolute truth. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you for reading out this long purport for us. Again, as I said, these are technical, but we'll simplify it. Okay, so let us understand what are this absolute truth. The three features of absolute truth is Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdayate. That is the three features of the absolute truth. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So Brahman indicates the effulgence, all-pervading effulgence. This effulgence actually, as per the Vaishnava philosophy, it emanates from the body of the Supreme Lord. Now, this Mayavadis, they are into the Brahman thing, and they feel absolute truth is Brahman. Their understanding is that. So, let us understand these three through the examples that Srila Prabhupada has given. So, these are three different ways, three features, I would say, three phases. Suppose these are examples given by Srila Prabhupada for us to understand in clear terms. Suppose I'm standing very, very far away from a big mountain. So while I'm very far, how do I perceive that mountain? What am I thinking when I look at that mountain? It just appears as a haze, just like clouds. It appears from very far. So I feel it is just a cloud, portion of a cloud kind of thing. But if I go a little more closer, I can see the form of the mountain. Okay. And when I go further, more close, rather I'm trying to climb that mountain, that's when I can see, oh, there are many small huts on that mountain. There are many animals there. There are many trees there. There are people living on that mountain. So that is the Bhagavan feature. Paramatma feature is called that form of the mountain. That is Paramatma feature. And when person is very, very far, he can see only that haze, the cloud cover. That is the Brahman feature. So tell me, when somebody is calling a mountain as haze and a cloudy kind of a thing, is that a perfect understanding of mountain? Is it perfect understanding? No, it is not perfect. It is imperfect. Yeah, what is perfect is when I am on top of the mountain, I have complete clarity ki mountain kya hota hai. You know? Let's take another example given by Srila Prabhupada. There are three brothers who come from a village, and village people are very simple. When they come to a city, they are completely puzzled and bewildered, seeing so many things in the city. So they somehow reach at the station, and the train is coming. It's very, very far. The first brother he hears the whistle of the train. It's pretty loud. So he's asking the people around, oh, is that the train? The person obviously told, yes, train. So he goes back satisfied. And he goes back to his village and tells people, oh, in the city I saw the train, and the train is nothing but a whistle. He's not wrong, but he could realize only that much. Okay. The next brother, other two brothers were waiting. The second brother waited, and the train came little closer, and he could see only the light. You know, the light, it's very bright. So he asked the person standing next to him, oh, that is the train? The person said, yes, that's the train. So his conclusion was, the train is light. And he goes back to his village and he says, the train is so effulgent light. The third brother who waited for the train to arrive at the platform. And when he got into the compartment, he saw there are doors, there are compartments, there are fans inside the train. There are people sitting, children sitting, old men sitting, so many things he could see. So tell me, whose idea about the train is absolutely perfect? the third brother, obviously, right? So that is compared to the Bhagavan realization. Bhagavan, the one we Vaishnavas, when they have the this Bhagavan realization is complete. In that, whistle is included, light is included, but this Bhagavan realization is the complete. While if the first person who went and said it's just the whistle, this is absolutely imperfect and it is not the correct understanding of the train. So this is how Prabhupada has given us examples so that we are able to understand these three aspects of the absolute truth. So now talking about these Mayavadis or transcendentalists, their thought is the Supreme Lord is Brahma Jyoti, Khali light hai, which is all pervading. It is just spread all around, and that is what they conclude as absolute truth. So that is their understanding, and they feel Brahman is only absolute truth, and we are also Brahman. That's because in the earlier verse, what did they say? What is their view? They feel the super soul and the individual soul are one. So these are their understandings, and further, in while the Vaishnavas feel, and Vaishnava's conclusion is the Bhagavan feature and Lord is transcendental, which Prabhupada writes in the purport. He is under the internal potency. See, we have three potencies. Supreme Lord has many, many energies, but primarily we are taking three: internal energy, external energy, Bairanga Shakti, that is material world energy, and Tatastha, that is the Jiva. So the Lord is the source of these energies. Lord is transcendental, and he is also the source of life, which this impersonalists, their conclusion is different. For them, their conclusion is the light is the source of the person. You know, they don't consider Supreme Lord or Absolute Truth as a person. You are getting confused, or is it clear? Hare Krishna?
You can able to clear,
Yes,
Mataji. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
we as Vaishnavas, we know Supreme Lord as Lord Krishna. He is a personality. Why do we say Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because he's a person, right? While the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, they feel, no, he is not a person. This light is the source of the person. So they feel when Krishna also appears in this material world, he is under the influence of external energy. Is that true? If Krishna appears in this material world, is he under the influence of external energy? Is that my question to you?
No, Mataji.
No, Mataji.
He controls the energy.
No. So they feel his body is made of just like us, earth, water, air, all that. And he is also, that's why Prabhupada coined this word Mayavad. So everything for them is Maya, you know. So they, even the form of the Lord they feel is Maya. It's a Maya. It's made of, is influenced by the external energy, while that is not the fact. So they are giving now, there is one, this rope and the snake argument. Let us try to little bit simplify and understand what are they trying to say. So they are trying to say this room is dark, and how Prabhupada has beautifully refuted it. The room is dark, and in the dark room there is this rope lying down, which they see and they feel it's a snake. And they start screaming and shouting, and out of fear they run here and there, you know, in the darkness. But as soon as you on the light, what do you find? It's only a rope. That's not a snake. So that's when they conclude the snake they compare to the material world. Oh, this material world is not real. It is all illusion. It is not real. So what is the Vaishnava? On the other hand, what is the Vaishnava understanding? Vaishnava understanding is the snake is real, the rope is real, but taking rope as a snake is illusion. You're getting my point? Snake hai. If snake hota hi nahi kahin, to how do I know this rope is a snake? Getting my point? If I know there is snake, that means I have heard about snake. The snake exists somewhere. That's why I'm comparing the rope to a snake. Correct? It is not here currently. This is rope, but somewhere the snake is existing. That is there in my mind. I have heard about snake. I know the snakes bite and I will die. That's why I'm getting terrified. I'm getting frightened. But this, what they do, the impersonalists feel, oh, when I switch on the light, there is no snake. Snake naam ki koi cheez nahi hai. It's not real, which is wrong. Prabhupada says, the snake is real. It's not false. The rope is also not false. But when I take rope as a snake, that is my illusion. So the fallacy here, what is wrong in this thing is, you know what?
Maybe our ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance. Yeah. But let us understand what Prabhupada is telling, how he is refuting this philosophy. Prabhupada says, because they say super soul and living, this individual soul are one, they say Brahman, we are also Brahman. And Brahman is one aspect of absolute truth. It is nothing material, it is transcendental only. But how can Brahman get illusion? Can God get illusion? No. Here they are telling Brahman gets illusion. It gets covered by the external energy. It goes in illusion, which is wrong, which cannot be accepted, right? So that is the fallacy that God cannot be covered by illusion. So that is one fallacy which Prabhupada points out. And Prabhupada says the snake is real. It is there somewhere. Maybe we have heard, we have seen somebody getting bitten. That's why we are fearful. We have that experience of the snake bite in our mind. As a result, we are fearing in the darkness also from the snake. So if it is not real, how do I compare it to the snake and how do I get fearful of that snake? So that's why this analogy is given. I'll explain the similar analogy, giving two more examples which Srila Prabhupada has given. Let's understand it better. See, clouds are there. Are clouds real or false? Simple
Real
question.
Mataji.
Yes,
Real Mataji.
clouds are real because it rains. From that, I conclude, yes, there were clouds. As a result, it rains, which I can see with my eyes. And as a result of the rains, there is vegetation, there is greenery, there is crops everywhere. But what happens is, after some months or some time, there is no rain. The clouds are also gone. What remains is the sky. Sky is ever existing. Sky doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't vanish. The clouds are temporary. So Prabhupada always explained that this material energy is illusory, temporary, makes things feel real, and we get bewildered. As a result, it is called illusory energy. We will understand it with another example. There is a magician. There's a magician and he's showing some tricks. Okay, he has a hat and he shows us that this hat is empty, but suddenly from that hat a rabbit comes out. So Prabhupada says this hat is real, the rabbit definitely exists, it's also real. But when I get bewildered thinking that, oh, rabbit came out from that hat, that is illusion. That is not correct. How can rabbit come out from a hat all of a sudden? So that's my illusion. So we get a conditioned soul gets bewildered when the Lord's illusory energy, seeing the Lord's illusory energy is magic. Getting it? So this is another thing. The last example which I'll give on this is take our body. So is my body real or false? Body
Real,
is there, right?
real,
Currently
real,
it is there. It is not false. It is real, right?
real, yes.
But when I start associating with this body, thinking I am this body, when I think I am Indian, when I have all these thoughts, that's illusion.
Yes.
Getting my point? And when I think this body is permanent, that's illusion.
Yes.
Because body is temporary. And when I think I'm Indian, I'm American, I have just a permanent body, and that is actually illusion. So this is how we have to understand very in a simple manner that how we get illusion. But Prabhupada also mentions in one of his purports, I read in one of the 11th canto, one of the purports, he says material energy is illusory and everything appears tangibly real. But at the next moment, it evaporates like dashing foam in the sea. We always go to the beaches and all, we see the waves. When the waves are dashing, what happens? We see foam. How long does it last? It's just there momentarily. So similarly, everything is temporary here, and it's illusory as well. And we think it is, permanent and this and that. That is the greatest illusion. So that we have to free ourselves from that illusion. So I hope little bit technical, but this rope and snake thing is understood by now. One more I can give, Chalo, since I'm here in desert, here in this Gulf countries, there is this mirage example often Prabhupada gives. What is mirage? Mirage means when I'm very, very far and it is a hot sunny day and I feel that there is a body of water there. Because of the influence of the sunlight, I feel actually it is hot sand there, but it is shining as if it's like a water body. And when I take that mirage as water body, that is considered illusion. Water is not false. Water is definitely there, though it's not there in desert, but it is there somewhere else. So similarly, Prabhupada is explaining what is illusion, what is reality, and what is temporary, what is, all these concepts he made clear through these examples. Let's understand. So this is all Maya again. Illusion means what? When we are bewildered, we are fooled into thinking this is reality, that is Maya. We're getting bewildered. So Prabhupada gives a nice short story. There's this one man who has a car, which is they have this sunroof cars, right? Sometimes they keep it open and all. And it was his marriage day. He's riding that car and he's going, and somehow he's wearing a hat and that hat flies off in the breeze. He tries to stop his car and he's on the highway. He's trying to stop that car and go and pick that hat up. But it is a foreign country, it's even mentioned it's California. And there is this petrol police who's saying on a mic, keep going, do not get off your car, keep going. So he has to obviously listen. He goes little further and there is an exit. He parks his car somehow over there and he jumps over the fence and he comes back on the highway running. And this is a busy street where there is a lot of traffic, and he tries to pick his hat up. He picks it up and there a car which is about to hit him. He still dodges that car, but he gets crushed under another car. So what is the moral or the lesson in this is, we are fantastically seated in the car and we are going straight on the path of going back home, back to Godhead. We are performing our devotional service. Maya is diverting us. When Maya diverts us, what happens? We just lost. She grabs us, she grabs our senses, and finally Maya will ensure that we are off this path of devotional service. So we have to, as that policeman said, keep going, don't get diverted. Maya's job is to bewilder, divert, many things which come as obstacles in the path of bhakti. We should not get diverted. It's very, very important. Further in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing, if the super soul is prapadye, surrender. So in the end, towards the end, it's mentioned that we have to take shelter of the Supreme Lord to be protected from the Maya. So when we take shelter of somebody, obviously that personality is superior to us, right or no? Can we take a shelter? I am a 50-year-old, for example,
Yes, Mataji.
giving a very gross example. Can I take a 2-year-old child's shelter?
Not possible, Mataji. It
Not
is
possible. Similarly, Lord is superior, which the Mayavadis and the impersonalists feel, no, we super soul and individual soul are one. They are not distinguishing it like that. While the Vaishnavas feel Lord is superior, he is the master, he is the enjoyer, and I am his servant. I am meant for his pleasure and service. Yes. So here the final portion of the purport mentions, we have to take shelter of the Lord to be protected from this material illusory energy. Which is the verse in Bhagavad Gita which says, when you take shelter of Lord, you are protected.
Sarvadharman Parityagya, Mataji.
Mataji, Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. Yeah. So this Maya is it's a tough nut to crack. It's not going to be easy to, be away from it. But Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam taranti. Yes. So what is the only way out? The only way out is when you take the shelter of my lotus feet. Only then this tough Maya is going to release you, because Maya is working under the directions of the Supreme Lord. It's his energy, right? So here again, I'll tell you a brief, short, beautiful story where there's this one hunter and he's captured few birds. But now what this hunter is doing, he wants to practice shooting. So what he does is he releases these birds from the net. And the birds start flying and he's shooting them one, and he shot all of them. But there was this one bird, when he opened the net, all birds flew. But there was this one bird which just sat at his feet. It didn't fly. Now hunter didn't shoot it. The bird was smart enough. If other birds, when they flew, they got shot by this hunter. But this bird just sat at his feet and it got saved and it was not shot. So Prabhupada is trying to explain here that when we try to fly away from Krishna, we're going to be shot by Maya. Right? So whenever we are forgetful of Krishna, Maya is going to catch hold of us and we are going to be really suffering at the hands of Maya. But what this bird did is waited at the feet of this hunter. Similarly, when we take shelter and cling tightly to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, we are definitely saved. Maya cannot touch us. So we go to the verse number 39. It is pretty late, but I have to end it faster. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvanna riktamatayo yatayopi ruddha shroto ganas tama aranam bhaja vasudevam. What I'll do is I'll request one of you to read the translation, please. Hare Krishna. Yeah, please.
The devotee who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-noted desires for fruitivity activities, because this is very difficult. The non-devotees, the Gnanis and Yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva.
Yeah, anybody can quickly read the purport also, please.
Mataji, can we read again?
Yeah, purport. No, yeah, please.
Purport. There are three kinds of transcendentalists trying to overcome the influence of modes of material nature: the jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. All of them attempt to overcome the influence of senses, which is compared to the incessant waves of the river. The waves of a river flow incessantly, and it is very difficult to stop them. Similarly, the waves of desire for material enjoyment are so strong that they cannot be stopped by any process other than bhakti yoga. The bhaktas, by their transcendental devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord, become so overwhelmed with transcendental bliss that automatically their desires for material enjoyment stop. The jnanis and yogis who are not attached to the lotus feet of the Lord simply struggle against the wave of desire. They are described in this verse as Rikta Mataya, which means devoid of devotional service. In other words, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to be free from the desires of material activities, actually become more and more entangled in false philosophical speculation or strenuous attempts to stop activities of senses. As stated previously, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnana Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yad ahaitukam. Bhagavatam 1.2.7. Here also the same point is stressed. Bhaja Vasudevam indicates that one who is engaged in the loving service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, can very easily stop the waves of desires. As long as one continues to try to artificially stop the waves of desires, he will certainly be defeated. That is indicated in this verse. Desires for fruitive activities are strongly rooted, but the trees of desire can be uprooted completely by devotional service, because devotional service employs superior desire. One can give up inferior desire when engaged in superior desires. To try to stop desires is impossible. One has to desire the Supreme Lord in order not to be entangled in inferior desires. Jnanis maintain a desire to become one with Supreme, but such desire is also considered to be kama, lust. Similarly, the yogis desire mystic power, and that is also kama. And the bhaktas, not being desirous of any sort of material enjoyment, become purified. There is no artificial attempt to stop desire. Desire becomes a source of spiritual enjoyment under the protection of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. It is stated herein by the Kumaras that the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna are ultimate reservoir of all pleasure. One should therefore take shelter of lotus feet of the Lord instead of trying unsuccessfully to stop desires for material enjoyment. As long as one is unable to stop the desire for material enjoyment, there is no possibility of becoming liberated from entanglement of material existence. It may be argued that waves of river are incessantly flowing and that they cannot be stopped, but the waves of river flow towards the sea. When the tide comes over the river, it overwhelms the flowing of river, and the river itself becomes overflooded. Then the waves from the sea becomes more prominent than waves from the river. Similarly, a devotee with intelligence plans so many things for the service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness that stagnant material desires become overflooded by desire to serve the Lord. As confirmed by Yamunacharya, since he has been engaged in service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there is always a current of newer and newer desire flowing to serve the Lord. So much so that the stagnant desire of the sex life becomes very insignificant. Yamunacharya even says that he spits on such desire. Bhagavad Gita 2.59 also confirms Param Drishtva Nivartate. The conclusion is that by developing a loving desire for the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, we subdue all material desires for sense gratification. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Sorry, this is a pretty long purport, but yeah. So here what is being told is the potency of the devotional service. So we are understanding here by doing the bhakti what happens. Now here there are three types of transcendentalists who are endeavoring for freeing themselves from the material desires. They have written here Gyanis, Yogis, and of course the Bhaktas. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions what is the goal of Gyanis. They want to be one with the Supreme. Yogis, they want to attain siddhis. So when these are also considered as karma only, no? Desire. So they are having desire. But the Bhakta, what is his goal? His goal is to please the Lord. He only aspires to love the Supreme Lord, to serve him with his heart. That is his goal. So this is, in this we can understand what is our this thing, the potency of this devotional service. Yes. Hare Krishna. Yeah. I was trying to remove this.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what I was saying is
very
Hare Krishna,
interesting.
Mataji.
No, I'll complete it. Just little bit is left. So yeah, I was telling the potency of devotional services. We can compare it to medicine. In purport, it is mentioning that a medicine, I may not be knowing the chemical ingredients. Chemically, I don't know what is mixed with what. I have no knowledge what is contained in this medicine. But even though I'm ignorant about what is this medicine containing, but when I take it, it works and my problem is solved. Means bodily, whatever distress is there, it is solved. So I need not know everything about that medicine, but just I take it, it works. Next, if we look at fire, a small child who has no knowledge, if I put my hand in fire, it will burn. Or, accidentally somebody touches fire, fire will do its work. Similarly, the devotional service, the bhakti of the Supreme Lord even when done in agyan also, it does its work. It does its work of purifying your heart. And when the heart is purified of the anarthas and all the material desires, you slowly develop that higher taste, which is mentioned in the purport. Param drishtva nivartate. So currently we are into all these material desires for sense gratification. But gradually when we are hearing Shravanam, Kirtanam, chanting of the Supreme Lord, reading the scriptures, that will bring us to a stage where that higher taste is developed. And as soon as higher taste is developed, in that purport it was written, the stagnant material desires. Why are they called stagnant? Because those desires, material desires or those sense gratification revolves around only what? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Only these activities, birth after birth after birth, millions of years, in whatever body I am, I have been doing. It's, as Prahlad Maharaj says, chewing the chewed. So these are all stagnant. But bhakti is so dynamic. We can do so many services. And how can we reach to the stage? And Prabhupada is telling we cannot curb desires. Desires cannot be uprooted from the heart. We can only dovetail them. How can we dovetail them? If I like to eat nice food, I will cook. But I will cook thinking of the Lord, offering it to the Lord and honoring it as prasad. If I like to paint, I will dovetail. I will paint transcendental paintings, which Prabhupada always called those are like the windows to the spiritual world. If I love to dance, I love dance for the pleasure of the Lord. So this is how the activity is the same, but now the consciousness is different. Instead of material, it is now getting spiritualized. This is how it is said. Now, we talk about Dhruv Maharaj. We understand how many material desires he had. He had the desire to have a bigger kingdom than his grandfather also. Like he was so disturbed at heart when he was insulted by Mother Suruchi, when he was pulled out from the lap of his father. But when he had the darshans of the Lord, what did he tell to the Lord? Anybody recalls? What is Dhruv Maharaj's prayer to the Lord? What is he
I
asking to?
don't.
Mataji, he
I was
said,
looking for broken pieces of glass, but I found you. You know what
Yes.
else I require?
Looking Kachan Vichinvan Api Divya Ratnam Swami Kirtarthu Asmi Varam Nayache. I don't want any boon from you, my dear Lord. I was looking for the broken pieces of glass. Why broken pieces of glass? Those material desires, big kingdom, all that. But I got a valuable jewel in the form of bhakti, in the form of your good self. So this is what. Further, again, when Lord asked him to express what boon he wants, though he said, I don't want, Lord has still given him a big kingdom, a big planet, eternal. So he says, if you want to give me some boon, Lord, please give me that boon that never ever in my heart the material desires sprout. Yadi dhyasyasi me kaman varam stam varadarshaba. You are varadarshaba. You are good at giving boons. But what is my desire and what is my prayer? Kamananam hridi asamroham. I don't, never ever that feeling, the material desire ever come in my heart, sprout in my heart. So these are the devotees who have done bhakti, and bhakti can transform you. It can really purify you. And this is what is mentioned in this last verse, the potency of the devotional service. So how bhakti helps to cleanse our heart, cleanse us of all these material desires. Being in this material world, we are so bewildered, illusion. But by taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, how we get cleansed and purified. So with that, we will end. And I am sorry if I took a little longer. The purports were longer. And thanking each one of you again for participating today, coming over for this Bhagavatam session. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Prabhupada ki. If there's anything to discuss, comment, or clarify, correct, please.
Thank you, Mataji. Just one thing, so many concepts we saw today, right from self-realization to birds on the tree analogy, so many analogies. Prabhupada
Yeah,
and Sheta.
Prabhupada has given so many beautiful analogies. Yeah.
So interesting. And mountain, Bhagavan, Paramatma, three absolute features. That also
Yeah.
we saw. And train
Yes.
example. And how we are all illusioned in this
Yes.
material world. We think that it is real thing, but it's all temporary, and we are getting done by it.
Mataji, you have
And
heard this class with such a rapt attention. I'm
Haribol.
so inspired.
So at least 1% we have tried to adapt, Mataji. It is something like great by your blessings and mercy.